What's up guys, Coach Az. Today we're going to take a look at the double kick, the idea of kicking twice before putting the leg down on the ground. I'm going to give you 5 examples of some ways you can utilize it. We're going to talk about some of the benefits and the way that you might be able to implement it into both your sparring and even your fighting. Now, if you come from more of a Muay Thai background or K1 kickboxing, these techniques might seem quite alien and unfamiliar to you. If you're more of a traditional background in terms of karate, taekwondo, and more modern freestyle kickboxing, then you might be more familiar with the techniques we're going to talk about today. In my personal opinion, these kind of kicking techniques are underutilized across the board. I think they've got great utility, and I think there's something that people should include more, if not in their fighting, then certainly in their training to help build strength and dexterity within their legs. You can think of these as similar to how a boxer might use their double jab or use their lead arm to play with levels to create openings, except we're doing it with the leg. The main argument I hear against using techniques like this is that it doesn't generate enough power and that it leaves you exposed to countering. In terms of the power argument, I have to fight against this because I think it's been made evident in things like the UFC and other MMA organizations that just touching someone with that lead leg in the right spot is more than enough to knock people out. And I can say from experience in using techniques like this, both in sparring and in competition, that they can be extremely powerful when used correctly. As for the argument of being countered, I think all techniques are vulnerable to counters, and that's more about where and when you use them as to opposed to what the technique itself is. All right, that's enough blabbering. Let's get into it with number 1, the double roundhouse kick. This is a great place to start because I think it addresses a lot of the key principles that we're going to be using throughout all of these kicks. We're kicking with the lead leg, and in this example, I'm going to the body and then I'm taking the kick up to the head. So similar to how a boxer might fake their jab low to then come upstairs and hit up to the head. I'm attacking the same side of the body twice, but at 2 different levels. So the first one to draw the attention, the second one more potentially to strike. The key with this and all the kicks we're going to go through today is chamber control. The chamber being that raised knee position before I flick my leg out to kick. The more control I have over that chamber, the more effective the kicks can be. Combo number 2, we're going to make a slight adjustment by changing the first kick into a side kick to the body. So the side kick is now pushing into our opponent, whereas the roundhouse kick is coming up around the side. So not only are we still attacking 2 different levels, but now we're attacking in 2 different directions with the same leg. Both a pushing technique coming straight towards you and then a round technique coming around the side. You can think of this as similar in principle to a question mark kick, but rather than turning from a front kick position, a teep position, and then rotating our hips, the side kick allows us to be already in the position to throw our roundhouse kick. So it saves us that moment of time, but still allows us to establish the shot with that pushing kick into the body first. Number 3, we're going to stick with the side kick, but now we're going to double up on that technique. The beauty of the side kick is if you implement it with a slide, you can use it to cover distance. Again, go back to our boxing example of a double jab. Not only can you double up on a jab, but you can combine it with footwork to close the distance on your opponent. So you'll see here as I'm throwing these 2 side kicks, I'm pushing off of my standing leg to get closer to the bag or closer to my opponent. Now in this example, I'm throwing it to the body and then to the head, but you could vary those levels as you please. You might go upstairs first to create the opening and hit to the body. You might just double up on the same position and hit twice. Remember, even if these kicks aren't necessarily hitting the desired target, if they're hitting the arms, they're still fatiguing the guard and they're still causing pressure onto our opponent. Today we're looking at these combinations in pretty much a vacuum of just learning the technique, but think about how you can combine your punching combinations to go on the end of these kicks to make it even more effective. Number 4, we're going to go for a hook roundhouse kick. So we're back to landing with the roundhouse kick, but this time we're setting it up off of the opposite side. So remember when we spoke about the double roundhouse kick, we were attacking the same side twice. Then with the side round, we were pushing to then come round the side. With this hook round, we're attacking one side to then sweep round and hit to the other. Now, the beauty of this hook kick, especially if you can get both of these up to the head, is it also blindsides your opponent. As you bring that hook kick around in front of their face, you can block their field of vision for a moment, which can often expose them and leave them open to the roundhouse. Of course, also, if they go to defend the hook kick, they very often will leave the opening on the opposite side in order for you to catch them. I actually find that this variation allows me to put the most amount of power on the roundhouse kick, because that hook kick allows me to effectively wind up the roundhouse kick before throwing it to my opponent's head. Finally, number 5, we're going to go with something a little bit more unusual. We're going to go with an axe kick to a roundhouse kick. So you remember I spoke before about the question mark kick? This is like an alternative setup in order to throw that technique. So instead of just coming straight off of a front kick, I'm going to lift my leg up and drop my heel down with my axe kick. I'm then going to keep the leg elevated, turn my chamber, and shoot my roundhouse kick up to the head. The axe kick on its own is a very unusual technique that you don't see thrown very often. Things that don't get thrown very often means that people don't practice the defense for it very often. This often means that even if you don't land with it, even if it doesn't hit the person, you will get unusual reactions out of people, which can create openings that otherwise might not be there. This technique also offers a really nice escape clause. If you don't feel like it's safe or the right time to throw the roundhouse kick, you can re-chamber and go straight in with that front kick down the middle to push your opponent back. So if you don't get the response you're looking for, if their guard doesn't move quite right, you can simply throw that axe kick, re-chamber, and push them back with that teep, reinitiating the space and keeping yourself safe. Now, like I said at the start, guys, maybe you don't implement these directly into your sparring, but if you start implementing into your training, I think you'll be surprised at how quickly you develop more leg dexterity and strength. What it allows you to do is really increase the repetitions of kicks that you throw. You end up just throwing more kicks and spending more time with your leg elevated in the air, and that means more chance of developing strength and power within your hips. As always, I invite you to take what works for you and leave what doesn't behind. All I'm trying to do is open your mind and give you more ideas of things you can mix in and implement into your sparring. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been somewhat helpful to you. If it has, I'd really appreciate if you double kick that like button. In fact, don't double click it because then it unclicks it. So just single kick it for now and subscribe to the channel. New videos coming out every week, and I will see you on the next one.